Good evening. Thank you for joining us live here on 6 p.m. Prime. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. This Monday evening, we're focusing on the big story that came in from the Supreme Court as the top court in a 3-2 judgment upheld the economically weaker section quota, the pro-poor quota. Some opposition parties are questioning this. You have a Congress leader, Udit Raj, calling the Supreme Court judges who ruled in favour of EWS quota as casteist. The DMK, the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, is saying that this is a setback in the centuries-old fight for social justice. We're going to be talking about this as the DMK MP also joins us this evening on 6 p.m. Prime to explain why the party is against this quota that empowers the poor in this country. That's our top focus. Here are the headlines. Big twist in Liquorgate probe. Manish Sisodia's aide Dinesh Arora says he's ready to turn approver. Says he's also ready to provide all information linked to the alleged scam. Conman Sukesh writes another letter to Delhi Lieutenant Governor, alleges involvement of Kejriwal and Kailash Gehlot. Says facing constant threats from Satyendra Jain. Karnataka Congress Neta goes on a Hindu tirade, says the word Hindu doesn't belong to India, calls the meaning of the word dirty.
हिंदू शब्द कहाँ से आ गया है? ये हमारा है। हिंदू का जो मीनिंग है वो बहुत गंदी है।
Anti-hijab protests erupt in Kerala's Kozhikode. Women burn hijab on the streets in an Iran-inspired protest. Parali politics intensifies as BJP tweets video of crop burning in Chief Minister Man's turf. Sangrur says Kejriwal is forcing farmers to burn stubble. So today, in a landmark verdict, the Supreme Court upheld the 10% pro-poor quota, a flagship move of the Modi government to essentially benefit the economically backward, the economically weaker sections. The 5-judge bench of the Apex Court voted essentially 3-2, 3 judges in favour of reservation, 2 against. So you had Justices Dinesh Maheshwari, Justice Bela M Trivedi and Pardiwala upholding the quota for poor, while Chief Justice Lalit and Justice Ravindra Bhat dissented. The Supreme Court's nod to this 10% EWS quota has obviously triggered a political war. We round up all the reactions first in this report.
सामान्य श्रेणी के गरीब युवाओं को शिक्षा और सरकारी सेवाओं में 10% आरक्षण नए भारत के आत्मविश्वास को और बढ़ाने वाला है.
It was in 2019 before the general elections when the Modi government announced 10% quota for the poor in general category. Seen as a game-changing move to empower the poor outside the quota ambit, the move had run into legal hurdles. But 3 years later, the centre stands vindicated, with the Supreme Court putting its seal of approval and upholding the 103rd Amendment to Constitution. A 5-judge bench led by outgoing Chief Justice Uday Umesh Lalit delivered individual judgments and finally ruled 3-2 in favour of the quota law. The judges supporting the quota for poor, Justices Pardiwala, Trivedi and Maheshwari, said that it did not violate basic structure of Constitution. The dissenting judges, Chief Justice of India and Justice Bhat, said amendment undermines fabric of social justice and emphasized on the fact that majority of the poor belong to SC, ST, OBC categories.
This has already raised a lot of concerns in the political sphere of the country, but also raises important legal questions when it comes to the reservation policy of the country, particularly since there are multiple other cases pending before the Supreme Court regarding SC, ST and OBC reservations. However, this verdict marks a major shift in policy when it comes to reservations in India.
SLP यहाँ pending थी. इलेक्शन के पहले आनंद फानन में 10% आर्थिक आधार पर आरक्षण दिया गया, जिसको आज यहाँ पे मेजॉरिटी व्यू है जस्टिस महेश्वरी के साथ में जस्टिस बेला त्रिवेदी एंड जस्टिस पारदीवाला, इनके व्यू ने अपहेल्ड किया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट को.
The Supreme Court verdict sparked celebrations in some places, with Dogra front workers dancing to drum beats and distributing sweets in Jammu.
बड़ा स्पष्ट फैसला है। किसी ने गरीबों के विषय के अंदर विचार करने का प्रयास करा। आज गरीबों की सुनवाई हुई है। अब गरीब का बच्चा आरक्षण प्राप्त कर सकेगा नौकरियों के अंदर। आज गरीब का बच्चा डॉक्टर बन सकेगा। आज गरीब का बच्चा इंजीनियर बन सकेगा। आज गरीब का बच्चा ऊंचे पदों पर बैठ जाए।
The quota for poor was hailed by the centre and the BJP, but saw massive pot shots from opposition quarters. Congress's Udit Raj took a massive dig at the apex court, terming it casteist. The Congress distanced itself but targeted the BJP, prompting attacks from the saffron outfit.
Why have they been rejecting all matters of SC, ST, OBC, saying that 50% limit cannot be exceeded? How could it be exceeded? Again, I am reiterating that EWS, I am in support of EWS, I am not opposing it. However, the mindset is getting reflected in the judgment.
The words of Dr. Udit Raj clearly amount to contempt of the Honorable Supreme Court of India. These are scurrilous remarks, and in a democracy like ours, they should be condemned, and we hope the Honorable Supreme Court of India will suo motu take cognizance of the words of Congress party leader Dr. Udit Raj.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय के साथ जो संविधान को मानने वाले लोग हैं वो सब उनको मानने को तैयार है।
जानना चाहता हूं कि 47 साल की सबसे बड़ी बेरोजगारी जिस सरकार के पास हो, जो आर्मी में, सेना में भी 4 साल के लिए भर्ती करके नौजवानों को बेरोजगार कर रही हो, उसके पास नौकरियां कहां हैं? ये तो भाजपा का चुनावी हथकंडा था।
DMK chief and Tamil Nadu CM Stalin called the verdict a setback to struggle for social justice. His statement drew ire of BJP again.
Judgment, they have mentioned very clearly, the majority judgment, this 10% EWS quota is important to further social justice, because social justice in totality means you got to take everybody along. Some could be socially backward, some could be economically backward. So everything we call that is justice. So they say this 10% EWS in the judgment will further the concept of social justice. So I think at least the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, M.K. Stalin, has got very lot of unfounded fear.
This is the first time even that quota in jobs and education will be based on economic status and not caste. With Anisha Mathur in Delhi and Sunil Ji Bhat in Jammu, Bureau Report, India Today.
So obviously this is a huge verdict that's coming from the Supreme Court. But what are the implications of the top court upholding the pro-poor quota? Let's discuss that. With regards to what this means on the ground, how will this have an impact as far as India's reservation policy is concerned? And also, what does it mean for the BJP? The implication one is that a 2019 move by the Modi government of ensuring social justice, that initiative, that move has been upheld right now in that 3:2 judgment by the Supreme Court. The second big implication, and this is something that goes in BJP's advantage, is that it has an advantage on BJP's upper caste support base. Usually that's their vote bank, and considering now that the poor in the general category also get reservation, this is a political implication that will be beneficial for them. Now remember that this verdict from the Supreme Court means that for the first time in India, we're seeing a caste-neutral quota. Quota that's not decided based on which caste the person belongs to, but based on which economic class they belong to. And that brings us to implication 4. The fact that economic parameters is what decides the quota under this 10% EWS quota. It's based on economic parameters. Obviously, there are questions about what those parameters are right now, which is one of the criticism that's really coming in. And finally, implication 5 that you also need to know is that even the poor in general category now can get quota. This was never the case. It was only caste-based. Now, if someone is identified to be poor, they also have reservation, access to reservation. Now, another implication is that this is a big boost for the BJP ahead of the Gujarat and Himachal elections for obvious reasons, for the reasons I stated earlier, which is that their upper caste vote bank is in fact, a vote bank that will get benefits from this 10% quota. There are parties who are against the EWS quota. Why is that? I'm joined right now by DMK MP, Mr. P. Wilson, someone who's fought this case in the Supreme Court also for the DMK. Mr. Wilson, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on 6 p.m. Prime. Tell us, sir, why is the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam opposed to EWS quotas and why is Mr. Stalin referring to this as a setback in the fight for social justice?
This EWS reservation is a reservation which is not approved under the Constitution. It is against the basic structure of the Constitution. It is against the basic feature of the Constitution. It violates the Equality Code. When Indira Savari's case was decided, they have clearly said that economic criteria cannot be a basis for the reservation. And another thing is, more important thing, which even the two judges have accepted, is it keeps out the SC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward class from the purview of this EWS, economically weaker section. And more important is, this reservation, it gives unbridled, uncanalized powers to the state to identify any beneficiaries and call them as an economically weaker section. Where do you get this economically weaker section? Is it defined in the Constitution? It is not defined in the Constitution. So therefore, that unbridled, uncanalized power, which doesn't have a guardrail at all, certainly is going to create a lot of dent on this reservation policy. Reservation itself is meant to uplift the oppressed communities who have been kept outside from the jobs and educational institutions. Generation after generation, they have been discriminated and they have been denied the opportunities. That was the reason why the reservation was given. Reservation means it's upliftment. So therefore, this economic conditions cannot be a criteria for this reservation.
No, so Mr. Wilson, you used a very important word. You've used the word of upliftment. So what about upliftment of the poor, sir? What about economic equality and economic justice? Why should caste be the only criteria for quota and for reservation? They face discrimination too.
I'm asking a question to you, which the two judges have asked now. Why do you keep the poor scheduled caste outside? Why do you keep the poor backward class outside? Why do you keep the poor scheduled tribe outside?
No,
are they not poor?
There is reservation for them. This is over
That is
about
why
them.
I'm saying you, is that a reservation on the basis of economic criteria? Why do we have two yardsticks? So the Equality Code is violated. There is no answer for that. So therefore, I would say that this reservation, you can't have a mask. Who are these economically weaker section? Please tell me. When you keep away the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and the backward class, who are they? Now they are upper caste. So this reservation is meant for the upper caste. So which are already in the mainstream line. What is the concept of reservation? Please tell me. Everyone doesn't understand what is the concept. Why reservation is given? Why this level playing field was brought? Because of the discrimination. You have created a lot of injustice to these type of people, generation after generation. That is why the reservation is given. And now you are giving this 10%, and for EWS you say other than the person who are covered under 15.4 and 16.4, which means you are keeping away this real depressed classes, depressed and oppressed classes. So how do you justify this?
No, sir, you said exactly what I've said about discrimination, sir. And that discrimination, what you're talking about, them not getting opportunities, not getting access, that's a reality for the poor as well. So shouldn't we ensure they also have fair access to education? What are we doing to take care of them?
Your question is a valid question. Please tell me how this poor is seen. Please tell me who are poor. Is there any yardsticks in the Constitution to say who are poor? You always project that it's poor, reservation is for the poor. Please tell me what is the criteria for being a poor. Does it mean that the annual income is 2 lakhs? Now today the union government says 8 lakhs as a criteria. Tomorrow another state will say that 15 lakhs is the criteria. Then another third state will say 50 lakhs is the criteria. One state will say 5 acres of land is a EWS criteria. So there is no yardsticks at all. So what I am saying is that poor also, I will tell you one thing, poor also, you are only saying poor for upper caste. There is no explanation why are you excluding others. Today he is poor because of what? Because of his habits, or because of his business, or because of the social stigma he is carrying. What do you mean by that? Do you mean to say because of his social status, social stigma, he is made as a poor? A person may be a drunkard, a person may go for a gambling, a person may lose thing in his business, and he will become a poor. So what is the criteria?
No, but I understand what you're saying about the criteria and the fact that, center, states, everyone has the power to decide, so it could change and vary. But having said that, don't you think, Mr. Wilson, that the poor in the general category also deserve reservation? Just because they don't belong to a certain caste doesn't mean that they shouldn't be taken care of.
That is what the Sino Commission says. Give them welfare measures. That is what the Constitution says. Give them welfare measures. Take care by way of welfare measures. You don't require a reservation for that.
Reservation?
What is reservation? The large chunk of your population already have got enough of education. They have already got government jobs. You go to, please go to any secretariat. Please see who is occupying the topmost secretariat post. Please tell me, is there any backward class or scheduled tribe is occupying? All secretaries in Union of India is occupied by the forward caste. Please go to, I am sorry to say that, I am saying, I am also espousing that, please go to the courts. Why not please go to the Supreme Court? See how many judges are there. What is your answer for all these things? So therefore, even go to the high courts. When will they will get the equal share? When will they get the right to, for these jobs? So you keep on, keep them out from the, educational system, you keep them out. Now, see, already they are in the educational, system. They have got enough jobs. Now, added to that 10%. Please tell me that 10% goes to whom? You have a population of only 30% in India. For that, you are giving 10%. So, one-third is assured of a job and one-third is assured of educational.
No, I also want to raise another point. Mr. Wilson, you've represented the DMK in court. In this chase for reservation, in a state like Tamil Nadu, for example, reservation technically is not under 50% or capped at 50. It technically stands at 69%. What happens then to merit? What about merit? What about those who are meritoriously wanting to go ahead and enter, educational streams or get jobs?
Do you think that mark alone is merit? Everything counts. Gone those days, the courts have said mark alone is a determining factor for merit.
Also.
Now the courts have interpreted that a person's background, what is the structural barrier, how he is prevented from coming into this mainstream, where is the level playing field? Can you compare a race horse and a horse which is weaker to run in the same race together? A person is going in a motorcycle and another person coming in a bicycle. Can you compare him the same? See the background of the family from where this person coming. No, you say poor, okay, I will understand that. He is a poor. But he is educationally rich. His father is, educationally strong.
How?
His mother is also educationally strong. Only thing is the means. Therefore, can you compare that, child who is coming from that strong family with that another child who is coming from a family where, there is no education at all? So therefore, you have to understand what exactly the reservation scope is, madam. So therefore, this is our stand. And of course, we bow our head. Today, the Supreme Court has said like that. And we are waiting for the judgment. We will certainly read that. And our leader has already said that the decision will be taken on that.
My only contention, Mr. Wilson, is that it's not just casteism that's prevalent in India. We have to take note of the fact that there is a problem of poverty in the country, and that upliftment is also important. But Mr. Wilson, thank you for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today. We're going to continue tracking all the latest. Thank you, sir. We're going to continue tracking all the latest updates that come in on that story. But let's move on here on 6 p.m. Prime and get your details of another big talking point that came in today. For the first time in India, women were seen burning their hijab in solidarity with Iranian women. This happened in the state of Kerala, in Kozhikode, where Muslim women belonging to, in fact, the Kerala Yuktivadi Sangam burnt hijabs as a show of solidarity with the ongoing protests regarding the imposition of hijab on women in the country of Iran. These women from the organization led this move to burn hijabs. This is the first such incident of hijab burning being reported in the country. The activists were seen raising slogans, displaying placards in solidarity with the Iranian women. Protests have been raging on in Iran since Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old, died while being imprisoned by Iran's morality police after being detained for wearing her hijab inappropriately. Of course, there have been a lot of comparisons to India, which doesn't really make sense or is justifiable. But India, of course, has seen this massive pro-hijab stir, particularly in the neighbouring state of Karnataka. At the back of the state government's directive that banned the head covering in educational institutions, the hijab ban was upheld by the Karnataka High Court. The Supreme Court has delivered a split verdict in the case on October 13th. So while you have seen pro-hijab protests happening in Karnataka and neighbouring Kerala for the first time, hijabs were burnt.